Testosterone, the hormone that makes men happy, flirty, and strong. But it's much more than that. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing in today's episode.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Healthify with Kamal, your weekly dose of hope, health, and happiness. I'm your host, Kamal, a certified holistic health coach. And with me is...
I'm Reet, your co-host, always here to provide a fresh perspective.
Yes, definitely. And today we've got a topic that's not just for the men, but especially for the wonderful women out there who want to understand and support the men in their life. And actually, that is the purpose of our podcast.
That's right. So we're diving deep into testosterone, more than just a hormone. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll realize that it plays a much bigger role in our lives than most of us ever knew.
Yeah, so let's get ready to get into this and talk about what really testosterone is. Okay, so let's get started. Testosterone, we've all heard of it. We all have it. But Reet, tell us what exactly it is.
So isn't it that thing that gives guys beards and the deep voices that they have?
Yeah, well, that's one way to look at it. But in actuality, testosterone is a hormone that's found both in men and women. But yes, it is usually in higher amounts in men, and it plays a key role in men's development, especially during puberty. It's also responsible for things like muscle strength, bone density, and even our moods.
So what's the deal with women and testosterone? Don't we have it?
Yes, that's a good question. We do have testosterone, but in much smaller amounts. So men compared to women have it in higher amounts. And in women, it's produced in the ovaries and the adrenal glands. And even in those smaller amounts, right, it plays a
Yeah.
role in bone strength, in mood, and certain aspects of sexual health.
Yeah, that's all really interesting, but I wanted to tell a really quick fun fact for our listeners. So, did you know that testosterone can influence competitiveness, aggression, and dominance behaviors? And once I read this, I thought maybe that's why dad always wants to win at board games and he's so competitive.
Yeah, I think that's just his competitive spirit, but you are onto something, definitely. Um, Testosterone does play a role in many behavioral aspects. And while it's essential, it's also just one piece of the complex puzzle that makes up our bodies and behaviors.
Yeah, so it definitely is a complex puzzle. So essentially, testosterone isn't just about the beards and the biceps, but it also affects our moods, our bones, and even our behaviors. And I think that's pretty fascinating stuff. So now that we've covered the basics of what testosterone is, Mom, I would want you to enlighten us on how does it actually shape a man's health?
Okay, so where do I begin? Um, Testosterone's role starts quite early in life, right? And during puberty, for instance, it's the main driver behind the changes that boys experience. It's why your younger brother went from being shorter than you to suddenly towering over you almost overnight.
Yeah, and that's why he suddenly wants to beat me in an arm wrestle. And spoiler alert, he couldn't. Not at least yet.
And testosterone plays a huge role in muscle growth, which is why many men, as they hit puberty, experience a sudden spurt in their physical strength. And it also affects fat distribution, leading to broader shoulders and a more defined jawline. And let's not forget about bone density. It helps in increasing the size and the strength of bones.
Okay, so that's why men generally have denser bones than women, right? And
Yeah,
what about the mental side of things? Does testosterone play a role there too?
absolutely, it does. Excuse me. Testosterone has a significant influence on mood, right? It's
Yeah.
often linked to feelings of well being, of confidence, motivation. So, low levels can sometimes lead to feelings of depression or lack of energy. And it's not the sole factor, but of course, it does play a part.
Yeah, and that reminds me of, boys in high school. I've seen boys become quite withdrawn, and there were whispers that it might be related to hormone imbalances, but at that time I didn't get it. But now that we're talking about it, it makes a lot more sense of why they were like that.
Yeah, it's quite common, unfortunately. And, many times people don't realize that a hormone imbalance can have profound effects on mental health. And we often talk about hormone imbalances in relation to us women, but we never think about it when it comes to men, which is kind of strange because they're human beings also, and they do have hormones. But
Yeah.
I want you to remember that everyone is different, and what's true for one person might not be for another.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think it's all about understanding these intricacies and being supportive, especially if someone's going through a tough time because of something that they can't control, right? Hormones are not something you can particularly control.
Yeah, that's very, very well said. And for the person listening to us right now that we have delved into starting of what testosterone is, and as we delve further into testosterone's role with aging, I want you to remember that it's essential to approach the topic with empathy and understanding.
Yeah, that's right. So let's get into how it plays a role with aging. So, Mom, it's often said that the testosterone levels decline with age, but is that actually true?
Yes, it is. Starting at around the age of 30, testosterone levels in men typically decline about 1% per year. And it's natural part of aging, but
Yeah.
the rate can differ from one person to another, you know.
Yeah. Okay, but how do you actually notice the decline? Because I mean, it's not like you wake up on your 30th birthday and be like, oh, I feel a sudden change, right?
No, thankfully, it doesn't work like that. But over time, some men might notice symptoms like lower energy levels, reduced libido. And yes, that is possible in men also. And even changes in sleep patterns, It's very subtle, but these signs can indicate that a decline in testosterone is happening.
So basically, it's not just the gray hair and the random aches that come with aging. But here's a question that I have. There's this myth that's been floating around that as men age, they'll experience a massive drop in testosterone. It's almost like our female menopause. But is there any truth to that?
Uh, the so called male menopause myth. Um, while it's true that testosterone levels decline. It's not the same as a female menopause. I mean, women experience a more sudden drop in hormones leading to the end of their reproductive years, their periods, you know.
Yeah.
But men's decline in testosterone is very gradual. It's not just like, you know,
Yeah.
the same as women's. And not every aging man will experience low testosterone levels to the point where it affects their health or quality of life. But for those who do, it's really essential for you to consult with a doctor.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So there's no sudden menopause crisis, as I would put it, but a
Yeah.
gradual change. So I think it's really essential to clear up these myths, especially since they can sometimes lead to unnecessary anxiety and misconceptions.
Yeah. So the key takeaway, I would say, is age related changes are natural, but knowledge and understanding can make the journey smoother for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that's really well said.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we've covered the natural progression of testosterone levels with age, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about managing declining levels. And first and foremost, I cannot stress this enough. Always, you need to first talk with your healthcare professional if you suspect that you have low T, meaning low testosterone. Self diagnosing or taking over the counter supplements without proper guidance can do much more harm than you realize, and much more harm than good.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually seen some testosterone boosters at a health store, and I wanted to know if they're the same thing as TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, which I've heard about before.
Yeah, no, that's a good question you're asking. Over the counter supplements and TRT are not the same. So, TRT is actually a medical treatment and it needs to be done under doctor's supervision where testosterone is introduced into the body. Now, there are benefits to TRT like improved mood, increased bone density, and muscle mass, but there are also risks. And this is why you need to be doing this with guidance of a doctor.
Yeah, I mean, there's risks to everything and side effects. So, what are those risks?
Well, some men might experience some side effects like sleep apnea, acne, or increased risk of blood clots. There's also the potential of stimulating the growth of prostate cancer if it's already present, you know. And
Yeah.
this is why it is so essential to be under a doctor's supervision, under a doctor's care, if you are considering testosterone replacement therapy, hence TRT.
Yeah, that's really essential. But what about some natural ways to boost testosterone? I mean, there's got to be some dietary changes or exercises that can help, right? Because we're always talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to diet, certain foods can help boost testosterone levels, and zinc is crucial for testosterone production. So, foods like oysters, beef, spinach, pumpkin seeds, all these things are so big in this part of the world, I know, you know. And these help boost testosterone production. And I loved oysters. Uh,
Yeah.
and there's also evidence that vitamin D can help. So think fatty fish, fortified foods, and of course, a bit of sunlight if you are fortunate enough to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we can do healthy fats from avocados, nuts, and olive oil. All of these support testosterone levels, and all of them are very yummy, right?
I would agree.
Um, yeah, and it you just need to remember that it's all about a balanced diet.
Yeah, so besides the oysters and the vitamin-rich foods that you mentioned, are there other dietary recommendations? I mean, there's got to be more that goes on a plate than just that.
Yeah. First, let's talk about what to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so excessive alcohol and processed foods, especially those high in sugar and unhealthy fats, can reduce testosterone levels. So, moderation is essential. You really need to watch how much you are drinking because sometimes, like, especially during like summer times or the holidays, with all the get
Yeah.
togethers and all of that, we sometimes you can go overboard with your alcohol. So you really need to be careful.
Yeah, and I guess those late night fast food runs that people do aren't doing them any good.
Yeah, probably not. And but on a positive side, foods rich in magnesium like dark leafy greens, almonds, black beans, all of these can support testosterone levels. And don't forget about the importance of maintaining a healthy weight. Um, Obesity can contribute to lower testosterone.
Yeah, so it's not just about adding certain foods, but also shedding some pounds if needed.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of shedding, let's talk about stress. Chronic stress releases cortisol, a hormone that can lower testosterone. So, activities that reduce stress, whatever they may be, like yoga, deep breathing exercises, or even hobbies that you love that give you pleasure and calm you down, those kind can help indirectly maintain a healthier testosterone level.
Yeah, and we've done an episode on sleep, and so I've also read about this that connection between there's a connection between sleep and testosterone, but is that actually true?
Yes, you are spot on, Reet. Sleep is critical. Men who are sleep deprived often have reduced testosterone levels. So, aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night can make a significant difference. I cannot um, understate this, you know. I can't say it
Yeah.
enough that how much you need sleep. And I think you would agree that there is a running pattern in pretty much all our episodes where we have been stressing the sleep component of taking care of your
Yeah.
health, no matter what condition you have, right?
Yeah, and I mean, along with that, you don't want to forget about your exercise, which is also something that we keep mentioning. Even for men, strength training in particular can really help boost testosterone. So some age-old advice here would be to eat right, to move more, and maybe stress a little less. And it's simple, but it's not always easy, but you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about a holistic approach, but the rewards, feeling better, improved energy, and overall well being are all well worth the effort. And
Yeah.
speaking of which, if you, our listener, are finding any value in our discussions, I'd encourage you to review this episode, our podcast, and also hit that follow button on Spotify or wherever you are listening to our podcast.
Yeah, and for those that are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button because we always appreciate the love and support that we get from you guys. And it helps us reach more people and share this very important information. Okay,
Okay,
so
so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that we're going to be shifting gears a little bit here. And this part of the episode is specifically meant for the ladies out there. Okay. So it's about how we can support the men in our lives, whether it be our partners, fathers, sons, whoever it is, as they navigate how testosterone changes.
Yeah, and the main purpose of us doing this men's series that we started from our last episode, right?
Yeah.
Is because even though our podcast usually addresses women primarily, um, it is to help the women understand what's going on with the men. Because if you are feeling good, if the men in your life are healthy, then it's just, it works in tandem, I think. And it's so vital, um, that sometimes women might notice changes in the men around them before they even notice it themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. And for the ladies that are listening, what signs should they look out for?
Yeah, well, there can be several indicators. I mean, fatigue and reduced energy are common, but they can also be mistaken for general tiredness, oh, just a
Yeah.
long day at work and I'm tired type thing.
Yeah.
But changes in mood, perhaps increased irritability or signs of depression can be a telltale sign too, because, because you as the woman know how your person, your man, whoever this man is, be it your father, your son, your husband, your boyfriend, your grandfather, whoever, right? You
Yeah.
know them. So it's easier for you to identify when they're just a little bit more irritable than usual, or they're a bit more, depression is like quite serious we are talking about. So it's not
Yeah.
just your basic sadness, right? Yeah, so you can tell that. And then there's reduced libido and changes in sleep patterns, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you as the partner, as the wife, as the girlfriend, as the boyfriend, can tell all of those things. And then if a woman notices these signs consistently, especially in combination, right, it
Yeah.
might be related to a decline in testosterone.
Yeah, I think all of these signs are great signs to look out for, but oftentimes the man himself doesn't want to see these signs or is in denial of these signs. So what should be done then?
Yeah, and that's actually often the case. Many men might actually attribute these symptoms to just having a bad day. Like we were just, saying that
Yeah.
I had a long, tired, day, or just feeling a bit off. And denial or downplaying is just a natural defense mechanism.
Yeah, okay, so let's go through a bit of the process. So now we've noticed that we're seeing these changes and we've recognized that they might be in denial or they're even unaware that this is what they're going through. But I think the tricky part then becomes is how do we talk to them or have a conversation with them without making them feel targeted or defensive? How do we do that?
Yeah, it's about choosing the right moment and the right words. So you might start with just general health and well being topics and then gradually navigate to the changes you've seen in them, stuff that
Yeah.
we've mentioned earlier. Yeah. And then you want to emphasize that you're coming from a place of love, from a place of concern.
Yeah.
And you could say something like, I've noticed you've been more tired lately, and not as upbeat as you usually are. Maybe, in general, a person
Yeah.
is like happy all the time,
Yeah.
and you notice all of a sudden they're not. Yeah. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really great way. So it's basically like you're doing gentle probing rather than making it sound very aggressive and you're coming onto them with something like, oh, we need to talk situation, because that can be very daunting and I feel like that can close the man up.
Yes. The words "we need to talk," when a man hears that, I think something in their head says switch off, switch off, switch off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't want to be doing that. And if the topic of testosterone or any hormonal changes comes up, share that it's natural part of aging and that there's no shame in seeking help or advice, and
Yeah.
society often places this burden on men to be very stoic or just tough it out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm man, I'm tough, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So breaking that stereotype starts with open dialogue, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's really the key here, is to come from a place of concern and care rather than making it sound like an accusation with the we need to talk situation, because like we mentioned, like men generally try to step out of that type of a situation and don't want to be in it. And when it's about mood changes, it can be really hard, right? How do we handle those situations without getting upset ourselves?
Yeah, I think in that, patience and empathy are crucial. And you want to remember that mood swings or irritability might not be intentional.
Yeah.
So you definitely need patience in that. And it's a physiological change that they are experiencing, and suggesting activities that both can engage in, like walks, like meditative exercises, all these things can help. And it's also beneficial to create a supportive environment where they can feel comfortable discussing their feelings.
Yeah, and I think I just want to add one thing here, is that, when a man is going through all of this stuff, most likely, oftentimes, a woman is going through menopause or going through her own changes. So I feel like this is a great way to show support to the man in your life, your partner, your dad, whoever, so that way they can give you the support that you need when you need it, right?
Yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
think that I think this is also where suggesting maybe like a doctor's visit might come in. It's not telling them what's wrong, but it's about seeking expert advice to ensure that they're actually in their best health and they're actually healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, frame it in a broader context. Instead of specifically suggesting a testosterone test, maybe suggest a general health checkup. It's been a while since we've had our last checkup. How about we both go? Make
Yeah.
it a joint activity, and that can help remove that stigma that something is wrong with me or I'm not man enough, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's a really great idea, because it's like you're saying that we're in this together, right? I'm not leaving you to do this on your own. And essentially, what that boils down to uh, is that we're in this together, right? Supporting each other through life's ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. And every phase of life comes with its own challenges, but with understanding, with patience, open communication, we can navigate them together. It just makes it that much easier. Not everything is easy. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk. I'm just saying when we have all those things in place, it just
Yeah.
makes it easier to get through. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really something that we needed to shed light on, and I'm glad that we did, because most women sometimes don't know how to approach this type of a situation just because of sometimes what they're going through, or maybe they don't want to upset the person that they're dealing with, right? But now let's dive into a topic that's been on my mind lately, especially after seeing so many ads popping up everywhere. So what's the deal with all of these products and supplements claiming to boost testosterone? I mean, on social media, on hoardings and ads, they're saying, oh, take this, it'll boost your testosterone, right?
Yeah, so I feel like this is a very timely topic that we are discussing. Um, within increased awareness of testosterone and its significance, I think the market has exploded with various products, each promising some miracle, like miraculous results, right?
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, I've seen them all over my social media, from things like testosterone boosters to what they call magic pills, promising to give men more energy, increased muscle mass, and many other different types of benefits. And it can be really hard not to be tempted by all of this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're counting on. And, so that you go into your pocket and buy whatever they're selling.
Yeah.
But while there are some legitimate products out there, it's really crucial to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism. Um, and many of these products might not even have been tested rigorously, or their claims might be based on very weak or just anecdotal evidence.
Right. So you're saying that we shouldn't trust the muscular guy in the ad telling us he went from zero to hero thanks to this magic pill that he took?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And as entertaining as those ads might be, yes, it's certainly very essential for you to dig deeper. And often these products might contain like generic vitamins and minerals available in your daily foods. Or even
Yeah.
worse, some might have ingredients that are listed um, that actually aren't listed, I'm sorry, and can be harmful to you.
Yeah, right. So what should someone do if they're genuinely interested in a product? I mean, some of them out there have to be good, right?
Yeah, there are, like I just said, there are legitimate products. But first, you need to do your due diligence. You need to research. So you want to look for peer reviewed studies, reputable sources that discuss the product. So you
Yeah.
understand what it is. Secondly, and very importantly, you want to discuss this with your healthcare team, be it just your primary care physician,
Yeah.
your nutritionist, and in some cases, not always, but some cases, even health coaches are helpful in this. But a doctor
Yeah.
is your first go to, and they can provide you with guidance on whether significant supplement is right for you and if it can interact with other medications or conditions that you might be having.
Yeah, so basically what I would tell our listener is that if it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is.
Exactly, I agree. And the body's hormonal balance is very delicate, and while it is the allure to quick fixes, you know
Yeah.
um, that allure of quick fixes is very strong. I think it's very essential to prioritize safety and long term health over short lived gains.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so we've talked a lot about testosterone and everything around it, but I think we should tackle some common myths surrounding testosterone.
Yes,
Uh,
we
okay,
always
so
are busting myths.
right. So are you ready to play Mythbuster, Mom?
Yes, yes. Oh, always. I've got my myth busting hat on. Just bring them on.
Okay, so the first myth that we have is that only men have testosterone, and I've heard this so many times.
Yeah, and this one is a classic, right?
Yeah.
But sorry to burst your bubble, that's false. Both men and women produce testosterone, as we mentioned earlier in the beginning of
Yeah.
this episode. And though men do produce it in larger amounts. In women, it plays the role in bone strength, in mood, and in libido. So, yes, not just a male hormone.
Right, so I guess that's score one for the Mythbusters then.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, I have that testosterone is only about muscle and libido. That's its whole gig, right?
Okay, so that's another popular misconception. Uh, while testosterone does play a significant role in muscle development and sexual drive, its functions are vast. I mean, it impacts your bone density, as I've been saying,
Yeah,
your hair growth, the red blood cell production. Did you know
right.
this one? Yeah.
No.
And even mood regulation. So it's much more than just, gym muscles and the bedroom antics that we talk about.
Yeah. So here's another one. If a man is aggressive or has a short temper, it's because he has high testosterone levels.
Okay, so I would say that's a tricky one. While testosterone can influence behavior and mood, it's overly simplistic to pin aggression solely on it, right?
Yeah.
Many factors contribute to behavior, including environment, upbringing, and many other physiological aspects also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's a myth to think that testosterone is anger hormone.
Right. So I think the one that I'm about to say can be a bit controversial. Which is testosterone supplements can help any man feel young and energetic again.
Okay, so I would call this one the fountain of youth myth. And testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can indeed help men with clinically low testosterone levels, but it's not a magic bullet for aging. And it comes with potential side effects, as we mentioned earlier as well. And
Yeah.
also, not for everyone with age related decline. Not everybody needs TRT. So you shouldn't be just running to the doctor and be like, prescribe me TRT. No,
Yeah.
don't do that. So it's very essential for you to first talk to the doctor, figure out whether you actually do have clinically low levels of testosterone. And if it can help, do not self diagnose, please.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Never self-diagnose yourself and never go on Google and search up your symptoms because I think that's the worst thing you can do to yourself.
Yeah.
So I think we have one more myth and then I think we're done. All changes in a man's libido or energy levels are because of declining testosterone.
Okay, this is a very significant misconception. Many factors can impact libido and energy. Um, and things like stress, sleep patterns, what you're eating, your diet, and other health conditions that you might be having, or the medications that you might be on, all of this plays a role. And yes, testosterone can play a role. It's not the only player in the game. So, always best to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, so thanks, Mom, for busting all of those myths. It's always good to separate fact from fiction. And to our listener, always question what you hear and seek accurate information because if you hear something and you think it doesn't sound right, make sure you look it up before you actually go to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, while knowledge is power and understanding our bodies is the first step to better health, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, so what a journey today, right? I mean, we started with understanding testosterone's various roles, tackled its relationship with aging. We've explored how to manage declining levels, And then
Yeah.
finally, we busted some myths, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's essential to approach this topic with knowledge and empathy, especially when supporting the men in your life come to play. And to our listener, if you found this episode enlightening, please do share it with your friends and family, especially to your male friends and family that might find this helpful because we do give a lot of great information here.
Yes, and we'd love to hear from you. Share your stories, ask questions, and let us know if there are other health topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. And you can find us at Healthify with Kamal podcast, or you can reach me directly at Health Coach Kamal on Instagram. Just hit me up in the DMs. I will answer up. And then your feedback always is so appreciated. It helps us shape our show and keeps us motivated to keep going.
Definitely. And if you're tuning in from Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast fix, please follow our podcast and leave us a review because it truly makes a difference. And for our YouTube family, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next episode.
We're so grateful for each and every one of you joining us on this health journey. We really appreciate you listening to us, you putting our sounds in your ear and giving us that time. Your support means the world to us.
Yeah, and until next time, stay informed, stay healthy, and remember that your well being is worth the effort. Thanks for listening to Healthify with Kamal. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Healthify with Kamal. If you really enjoyed this episode, check out this one right here on how to improve your sleep, and don't forget to share this one.